can see the lighting situation.
Who's the money manager here?
It's Kayla for today, I think.
Here you go. There's you some more change.
Thank you.
Need change. Change is good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me turn my phone off. I don't want interruptions.
Surprise ones always pop up, don't they? They have a way of doing that.
Oh, I forgot to tell you Thomas called you.
No, I saw his text. Oh, buddy.
I haven't been to their store yet. The store in Johnson City let kids come in.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, which one? What's the name of it?
Holly Boutique.
Okay. Are we rolling now? Cool. So, I wanted to hit maybe a shortened version of that same thing we did before and move on to a couple other things too. So, alright, well, we're here once again with East Tennessee Normal. I want to welcome all my friends from Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and all of our other social networking projects that we're kind of working on right now. And please welcome Miss Yvonne Newbert, a friend of East Tennessee Normal, who is an advocate and just a person who is crucial to this movement because she brings so much knowledge from her experience in this subject. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
My name's Yvonne Newbert, and I have been an advocate for marijuana since I was probably 16 years old. And I've gone about it the wrong way, and now I'm going about it the right way. Went about it the wrong way when I was a teen, about 29, when I left Jackson, Tennessee. I was like all angry because I'd lost my sight and everything, and all this stuff with having to quit. And I sat on the courthouse steps and lighted a joint to make my statement.
Gotcha. It was kind of a public protest.
Yes, it was. I'm a big civil disobedience type person. Well, I used to be. Got too much to lose now, really, to be a civil disobedience type person. That's part of the problem, is people, have a lot to lose. And they're afraid they have a lot to lose by joining organizations like Normal Marijuana Policy Project and the different marijuana legalization organizations around the country. People are afraid. They're afraid if they join an organization like this, they're going to lose their jobs. And, that's something that needs to be changed, too. There's a lot that needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. And, speaking of other organizations, I'm a board member also of Tennesseans for Compassionate Care, TENNCC.org. And we're basically now focusing on education for our citizens, and education for our politicians. And means a lot of letter writing, a lot of sharing videos, news articles, anything we can find. And it's not just a thing 10cc can do. Anybody, it's everybody. It's up to everybody to have their voice and have their say. And the good thing is about belonging to one organization or another, you've got that group backing you.
A support system.
Yes. And which is very important for any kind of political action and anything you're going to do. And there are so many different groups out there and organizations, and basically now, this year, I think a good thing for all the organizations and groups to do is to join forces. All of us together. Normal 10cc, Marijuana Policy Project, what are some others?
Tennesseans for Marijuana Reform, Greener Pastures Tennessee, Moms for Marijuana Reform,
Students for a Sensible Drug Policy,
Drug Policy Alliance. There's so many groups out there that have put money and real efforts behind this that it's a national movement at this point. It used to be kind of a counterculture thing where all of the lefties and hippie types,
yes,
if you will. I'm certainly one of those people that people will call a liberal. I guess, politically. And it was that niche before. At this point, you've got doctors, lawyers, politicians, political experts from all walks of life who have come out and admitted now that they've either used it in the past or they think that everyone should be able to, in a reasonable way, have access.
There's a big faction of people who have never used, never intend to, that totally support it just because it's the freedom of choice. It's your choice to maybe, smoke it, use it with a vaporizer, cook it in your food, make it to a lollipop. There's so many different choices.
And of course, medicate.
And medicate. Well, that's what the lollipops do.
Yeah.
And I've even heard, like now, I've been having a lot of joint problems with the lupus. And I was reading, even in states where medical marijuana is legal, that people are making oils that you can rub into your joints that's actually helping people.
Topical butters and
And
all those kind of things, yeah.
I just read an article, and a lot of times, see, that's what we need to do with the bills, because a lot of times there's some little things. There was an article I read about the CBD that totally eliminates menstrual cramps.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So half of our population might be interested in something like that, huh?
And it's not an issue. I mean, it's an issue that covers the whole spectrum of people in our country. Disability, the spectrum of different disabilities that medical cannabis can help is long. And again, I'll reiterate that until we get some strong medical cannabis reform, and I emphasize strong and tight. We need a tighter reform. And that's what is going to make the difference. And it's sad, but people, the NTSU poll again, 75% of people in Tennessee are for medical cannabis. Now we need to do, and it's important, these 75% of these people who are for medical cannabis, first off, need to educate the other 25%. Second off, they need to vote. They need to write letters. It's our action, our choice. If we don't take action, we can't say anything about not having a choice.
One thing that really makes it hit home to me is all of my friends who have younger kids, sometimes around like your daughter's age, for example. In her lifetime, it's going to be a vast difference between, the marijuana staying as it is right now, whatever choice she makes in her future. If she falls into a medical situation where she may need it, she'd be restricted access if it stays the same. If she was just wanting to use it recreationally, she literally is becoming a criminal at that point for doing something that honestly is far less dangerous than what every person at every one of these bars in Knoxville is doing every other day.
I took my first drink of alcohol before I smoked my first joint. I smoked my first cigarette before I smoked my first joint. And alcohol and tobacco, that stuff kill you.
And it is killing
And
idiots.
killing people. And when I was in college, I did a project for a sociology class, field research, where I interviewed nonviolent offenders who were in prison, who had gotten raped while in prison.
What prisons did you go to?
Oh, I don't remember all the names of them. It was Tennessee, Kentucky, and I think it's Virginia.
So in the South.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
just in our area. And a lot of them were in there for marijuana. And a lot of them were using the marijuana to self-medicate. And there's so many, I can't stand, in 2005 I had to have my eyes removed, and I had to be on lots of pain medicine, and I was just about to graduate college knowing I was going to be job searching, so marijuana at that point was not an option for me. Because, I knew when I went to apply for a job, first thing they're going to do if they hire me, boom, 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 drug test.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, sorry to stop you, but what kind of pain medication did they give you for something like that?
Oh, have mercy. Started out just, your hydrocodone. And that wasn't working. And Demerol, and then morphine. And then I ended up on this patch. It was called fentanyl. And this was before my surgeries and during my surgeries. Because they removed one eye. And then they went back and removed the second eye. And all of this happened like right after I finished my last semester of college. Pretty much, quite honestly, strung out on pain meds.
Wow.
Because I knew I had to finish. I knew I had to finish then because I know my mentality, and I know if I dropped out, it would have been harder to start back and finish that one last semester. And so, one of the pain meds, I'm serious, it was a pain patch and the fentanyl patch, and my husband was with me on the bus, and I literally got up and forgot how to walk. And, I was throwing up all the time. So, boom, more drugs to stop the nausea. And I know if I had been able to smoke, I might have still needed some of the hydrocodone or anything, but I know from my own experience that the smoking would have alleviated some of the pain, and it would have alleviated the stress from the pain. Right. If you've ever been in any kind of pain, you know the stress that goes along with it, and that just complicates the whole issues. And medical marijuana is not the end all and be all of medical treatments, but it's a naturally growing plant that helps a myriad of things. I even had one of our state representatives when I was talking to everybody about the Cooser-Coon Medical Act, and he said, well, the first thing, I won't vote for it unless it can be FDA approved. And I just point blank asked him, I said, have you seen the list of recalls on the FDA list? All the medications? Like right now, for joint pain, with the lupus, I have a lot of joint pain, and the medicines that help arthritis and help joint pains, guess what? You got a risk of your liver. But with marijuana, there's no risk.
That's one thing that I found so interesting when the trial for hearing for Cooser-Coon was happening, and David Reagan said, well, we just don't know what the side effects will be. You know for a fact.
I know for a fact
what the side effects are of the medications that people are taking now, which are destroying their lives, addicting them to pain medications.
I've been addicted. I have gone through narcotics withdrawal, and it was just, I just couldn't have done it by myself. I'll give you that, because I would have muscle spasms to where my body would curl up and then sling itself back out.
And this is in response to the medication that gets
Yes.
Wow.
And I graduated after, when I first started smoking, it wasn't like a year after that, I started public school, and I was not a constant smoker by no stretch of the imagination. But, I would smoke at least every week. But my grade point average when I graduated from public school, being visually impaired in 1983, I graduated high school with a 3.7 grade point average. And under normal circumstances, that's a pretty good grade point average.
People like Nancy Grace out there would argue that smoking makes you lazy. You seem to have done something that kind of makes her argument seem silly.
And of course, you're going to have different people. It's going to affect people different ways. But that's where your personal responsibility comes in. And there are some people who it will make lazy. But it's their personal responsibility to, hey, wait a minute, this is not a good effect of this. But I have seen too many people, and I have seen myself, and narcotics changes people. You know, and your number one street drugs is not your marijuana, really. Your number one street drugs is your medications, your pain pills, you go to the pharmacy and get it.
If you go on the streets of Knoxville and go out on a weekend at any time, I guarantee you there's people who are younger than 21 or 18 who have hydrocodone, who have Klonopin, who have Percocet, and all of these FDA approved medications that people in our middle schools have access to right now.
I accidentally overdosed on Xanax because one of the bad effects of Xanax is sometimes you forget that you're taking it.
Right.
And I'm not that organized, I used to not be, but to say, okay, I took the Xanax at 8 this morning, I really don't need to take another one until 8 o'clock tonight or whenever, and you can forget that. I mean...
And we have children in our country, and right here in Tennessee, who are prescribed these medicines.
I mean, I had a doctor when I was a teenager offer to prescribe me Valium.
Wow.
Luckily, my mama said no. You know, luckily for me, because I probably wouldn't have ended up with that 3.7 grade point average.
Right. But again, FDA approved, right there in the pharmacy. No problem with selling it.
I've got a friend that wrote a song, and it was actually, I'm going to have to find it again. He's from here in Knoxville. It's called Praise the Lord and Pass the Pills.
Oh, wow.
And it basically speaks to that. You know.
Gotcha.
You know, I live in a town with 1 red light and 3 Walgreens. You know? And that's the sad truth, though.
And that's East Tennessee, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
1 stoplight and 3 Walgreens.
Petros, Oliver Springs, Maynardville, Townsend. You can go a block and a half and find a place where you can get a prescription medication. It's there. Either somebody has it in their house or you can get it at a business. But yeah, if you want to go somewhere and get mental health for your daughter or son, help your son who has epilepsy, there's nowhere for you to go.
And I mean, we're losing good people in our states. You know, people are leaving the states where marijuana is not legal for medical use. And they're going to states where it is legal. And we're losing valuable resources that way. Mm-hmm. You know? And, you know, I've heard it said, well, it's not that many families. But I told them, I said, what if it was your family?
Right.
You wouldn't be running, you wouldn't be a congressman here, you'd be in Colorado somewhere.
It's not that many, and what kind of a statement, especially if that's an elected person saying that.
Yeah.
You know, your constituents are only important if it's enough of them to get you unelected, I guess.
But again, it's funny because the MTSU poll, again, 75% of the people. Mm-hmm. But the people in office just disregard that poll. And they say, well, we need more research. We need more research. You know, right now we can't have research. For one, marijuana is a Schedule I drug. Mm-hmm. You know? And that's something these, all the groups we need to start working on too, is federally. That's part of our problem, is because it is a Schedule I drug, it needs to be knocked down. And that could easily be done in D.C.
It's past time for it to be done.
It's way past time for it to be done. Because I was researching for my final project for my class for partners in policy making, and I was amazed that, you know, all the other Schedule I drugs, and one of the things that says that makes it a Schedule I drug, this has no medical benefit.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
My friend Lynn Armstrong is a person who can recite it by number from memory, but
yes.
we have a patent. I forget what the number on that patent is, but it's one we've had since the 70s that obviously proves we recognize the medicinal value of this. And
there was a project in the 80s to where they were giving different people medical cannabis for a research, you know, to see the effectiveness of it.
So that's a huge misnomer when people continue to say, we don't know the effects, we need more study, when this is one of the most studied substances known to man. You know, we've got thousands of years of interaction with this. It's not a new thing. You know, it'd be different if marijuana was this thing that they just synthesized this month, and the FDA is still having deliberation about, oh wait, that's Zohydro, and they put it out anyway.
Yes.
So it's just...
And it's a plant that's been here forever and ever and ever, and it grows everywhere. It grows better in some places than others, but it's a plant. It was put here. I mean, that's the reason it's here. I mean, our earth is not some just ball of dirt and rock. It's a living, growing thing, and it's going to grow things that are beneficial.
By definition, because we grew from it as well.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you as well, for next year and moving forward, once the political process has played itself out in November, all the votes have been cast, everyone's taken their seat, and they have no reason, from a cynical point of view, to really care about what we have to say anymore. They've already got the power they need from us. What kind of things should we be doing as citizens to make sure these politicians listen to our voices, pass policies that are actually helpful to our citizens, to our children, and generally move toward reform in a different way than we've seen in the past? What kind of things do you think we should be doing?
Basically, just more of what we're doing. Get more people to talk to their congressmen and senators and like, you want my vote next time? I'm a citizen. I believe that medical marijuana should be legal. And you're put in office to vote for me. You're put in office to vote on issues that matter to me and vote the way that we want you to vote. But again, I mean, in Tennessee, I still see it's going to be a battle, and that's why I keep saying it's up to our citizens to do more of what we're doing. And they're not ignoring us. I mean, because every senator and congressman that I have spoken to or have requested to call me or I've sent an email to, I've gotten responses except for one. So
Who was that one who just didn't respond at
Carter.
all? Oh, isn't that ironic?
That's very ironic.
Wow.
Because he's one I would really like to talk to. I would like to know where he's actually coming from and where he's going, and with the cannabis oil study. And, you know, he needs our input because we're not his people because we're in Knoxville, but there are people who are his people, his constituents. And again, that bill is, you know, next year, you know, it could be amended and improved upon. I mean, that's the whole point of having amendments on bills, is to improve on a bill.
And there's much to be improved on the CBD bill as it stands right now.
Yes. I mean, it serves a small, I mean, it's a good step. It's a step in the right direction. I mean, it's getting medical cannabis into the conversation.
Yeah.
If anything else, it's doing that. And, I mean, but, you know, the studies, they're doing studies. They're doing studies in other states where it's already legal.
Roman Caring is going to be one of those organizations that we interact with while we're doing this documentary. The family that we're dealing with from Elizabethton, Tennessee, it's right outside of Johnson City. The son's name is Kenley Whitehead, and he's dealing with a no-Gault syndrome. It's a form of epilepsy. We're going to be getting him out to Colorado to deal with Roman Caring. But they focus on the epilepsy. So when we have you with us to actually deal with glaucoma, that will be a whole nother arena. The reason why I think it's important that all of our groups coordinate is we see, once you segment it down and say, all right, we're going to have a CBD bill, a glaucoma bill, a cancer bill, an MS bill, an AIDS bill, how much red tape these patients wind up actually having to go through to ever access medication is excessive. That's why I personally am actually for full access.
That's me, because I mean, you might have a doctor-patient who just don't have a good relationship.
Right.
And because I had a doctor-patient relationship like that.
Or even worse, in Tennessee, you don't have a doctor because, of course, in our state's infinite wisdom, they've denied the state the ability for several patients to even get care.
See, right now I can't get treatment for my lupus in East Tennessee. We're working on trying to go out of my network and go to Vanderbilt.
So that's, we come with those lessons and scars from that experience that let us know full access is really the way to go. And otherwise, your alternative is a mile of red tape. So. But,
if that's what we have to do, I mean, that's the way it was in Colorado. Washington, 21 states now in D.C. have medical. And, these states are going to end up going for full access.
After they have years and years of debate and issues with all
I don't think the years and years are going to be as long now as they were in the past. Like I said, the conversation is out there now. I mean, look at the CNN report that Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I mean, he even came out and he apologized. I'm sorry that I overlooked this research. I'm sorry and a lot of the research comes from personal stories like mine. Right now, that's where a lot of the research is, and a lot of the information is, and a lot